Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface, and today I thought do something a little bit different. So I've invited another toxic white male into the channel so we can have some right toxicity going. Ragtagg, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I don't resent that whatsoever. I am as toxic as they come.
You gotta tells it how you sees it.
Exactly.
Now, we both, well, I mean, I still dabble from time to time, but we're both kind of WoW alumni, should we say, for right now.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
I know you've transitioned into other things like Overwatch, and I think you're having a little bit of success now with Apex Legends.
Yeah, I'm transitioning again, I'm afraid. So I'm transitioning away from Overwatch into Apex Legends, which I initially hated, but I'm now firmly on that bandwagon.
Yeah, I saw your opening tweets when it came to Apex and the resistance that you were putting up to it. And having been somebody, I was loving it. I mean, I was just loving it at the time. So I was just like, it'll come round. It'll come round. And then I think you did like a tip video. And it did really well. Got like a good couple of 100,000 plus views on it. And then you decided Apex Legends was great.
Well, now, let me just qualify that. First of all, if you put the word toxic on any title, it apparently does extremely well. But worse than that, I'd made a video before that saying that I wasn't going to play Apex Legends on my channel. The egg on my face was strong after that.
Never make those sort of commitments, mate.
I realised that as a mistake. I've had to unlist that video because YouTube started to recommend it. And then people were like, "Are you not making Apex Legends videos?" I was like, no, I'm making them.
Yeah. So I saw this video and stuff and things where you're like, I'm not gonna do like Apex Legends and stuff, but you're like doing Apex Legends and things.
Well, look, the thing about it was 2 or 3 hours more was all that it needed. It was just learning the weapons and not dying within the first 10 seconds. Once I got past that, oh my god, what a devil of a good time I'm having now.
I don't care dying in the first 10 seconds. I go for it. I'm one of these, like, I think Shroud recently was just like, people are stupid if they like just go to all the high loot areas immediately. There's loads of stuff everywhere. I'm just like, bitch, please. I love jumping down and getting in trouble immediately. If I get knocked out, I get knocked out. But if I win, I got me some kills. I got me some KD under my belt.
That's it. I'm like that now as well. Just roll the dice and see what happens.
But it's just, I like getting into trouble. I like conflict in the game, and so it just to me is a lot of fun that we just go for it. Every single exit. It's very rare that we go somewhere safe, inverted commas. Why not? So let's have a chat about a certain MMORPG. Let's just start off with a little bit of WoW, and I'm sure we'll cross-pollinate with Overwatch and your sentiments with Overwatch, because I've seen your Twitter account. You got a thing or two to say about it.
I do. It's going to be stopping me from saying everything. That's going to be the tough bit for you.
But you played a little bit of BFA.
Yes.
Started BFA.
I played a month of BFA, and then I did not renew my World of Warcraft subscription after that.
Yeah.
So,
was there anything particular though that made that, or was it just a generic boredom?
I think it's a little bit of both. I feel that the game, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, I played World of Warcraft from the very beginning, and more or less on until Legion, and then 3 months into Legion, I just had enough. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I was just sick of the game. We're talking 12 years of game time. But when I saw the BFA trailer, and I saw the back to your roots, back to this Horde versus Alliance thing, I thought, I'm all in now. I'm going to give this a shot. And I really wanted to make content on it again. But my God, a month in, I was finished. But I think it's a combination of the amount of time previously spent playing the game. I think it just been slowly going in directions that I just wasn't that happy with. And then the Azerite grind, I just couldn't see the point of it. I don't know what the hell was going on with that, but as soon as I reached max level, Start to take a look at the raids and the end game world grind. Yikes! So,
Yeah.
how about you?
Well, we have very similar Legion stories. I was an alpha beta tester for Legion. Again, I've been alpha testing since I think Mists. No, Mists I beta tested and then alpha tested from there on in. And I could just see what they were doing to the game with Legion, particularly in the outside world where they were just changing daily quests into world quests. How there was just this repetitive hamster wheel, and I was kind of like wondering to myself, where does the fun start? And I was like having a little bit of fun in Legion when you were getting your artifact weapon, but once I'd kind of done that gubbins, I just knew what was in store. I just knew what was in store in regards to like the grind, and I just, after again a considerable period of playing World of Warcraft, I think the last time I took a gap was Cataclysm, and I came back for the Dragon Soul patch, and I've been playing WoW continuously since then. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
and so I took that huge break.
Legion actually showed a lot of promise. I was alpha testing that as well, and one of the coolest things they changed about the game for me was they changed the weapon animations and the sounds and whatnot. I thought, wow, now when you hit someone with a sword, it really does sound a lot better than it ever did before. It didn't sound like something that you would just sort of mash out on a soundboard. It felt a lot meatier. It was when I was in alpha testing, I saw the bosses and the dungeons and whatnot, and I was really looking forward to it. But it is that same thing. Once you get to end game, what are you going to do for us? And I just think they solved the problems better in the earlier versions of the game. I think it is. There's a line you can draw, and you could say, "Hey, are you just bored?" Or when you look back to when there was like the vendor grinding and the badges and all the rest of it, and you could get the gear that you wanted by grinding the raids. And then they bring along this system where you might get something good, but then it might Titan Forge. And you're like, well, am I going to grind? How many? Is it like 17 slots or something?
Well, no, you could get something good, but is it the best?
Yeah, exactly.
So, so when you introduce that, then suddenly an item which would be just great, it'd be great to have, suddenly doesn't become so great because it didn't Warforge, or it didn't Titan Forge, or it didn't socket, or it didn't tertiary stat. And so it will only become great if you get that combination, which you're just never going to get, or it's going to be rocking horse shit to get. And it's as simple as that. But yeah, I totally agree with you about the sort of as soon as you hit the end game, what are you going to do for me? And that is when, to me, just this hamster wheel effect starts. And in Legion, they had, they did try some interesting things, but inevitably, Suramar wasn't going to be enough to hold us, because once you'd done the storyline, they started to time gate things, and I hate time gating. Yeah, we're just going to stop your fun now. Come back for fun later.
Yeah, I actually think one of the things they could have done and should have done is scale difficulty so that it is a lot harder when endgame begins. They're not going to pass things out for free. There's not going to be a chance of... I don't like entering the lottery. I think that's what it is. I would rather be, as things were in Classic, I'll call it that, it's back in Vanilla, where there were very few players clearing top-tier content.
Yeah.
Where they walked around Stormwind and Orgrimmar, you're like, geez, I really want to look like that dude, and you aspire to what you cannot have.
I think it's ego, though. I think it's ego, because they were saying, 2% of people were doing top-end raiding?
Yeah.
And so 98% were missing out, so we got to make sure everybody sees it with Raid Finder. And it just annihilated raiding, because suddenly you just had one tier of raiding, and that was it. And I actually thought Ulduar did a very good job of, if you wanted to go hard mode, you could do a certain criteria in the fight and proc that hard mode. So I actually thought that was quite an interesting way of just having sort of like 2 levels of difficulty on certain bosses, because it wasn't every boss, I don't think.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
two levels of difficulty. Otherwise, it was just, you get a chance to knock stuff down. But then you suddenly had Raid Finder, and then you had normal, and then you had hard, and then you had mythic, and so all that to me was just like, I just want to raid. I don't want to raid to that level or that level. I just want the raids to be of a progressive nature, that you might do them, you might not finish them. You might get 3 bosses down, you might get 2, you might get 4, you might get 6. Whatever your guild could actually achieve. And if you're, a bit short, bring some people in. Try and get some people in. Try and get recruiting. Try and get people who have enthusiasm to raid, who want to, who see you walking around town in your tier gear and thinking you're looking cool as brass, and then saying, how can I be like you? Well, get raiding, sunshine. Come into raiding.
And that's right. And I think LFR discouraged people from being social a lot of the time as well. I think the whole idea of getting endgame content is to start a notoriety thing, like the old days.
But I think it promoted antisocial behaviour more than social behaviour. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. More than anything. And if they were insisting on bringing LFR, I would have brought it around as a special event. Like, if you're going to make World of Warcraft free to play for a weekend, bring round LFR. If you've not seen the raids before, you can see them for 3 days only. Apart from that,
but not the current, the current raid.
Exactly. I
think maybe the previous raid or something.
Yep, it slowly killed the game for me over a period of years, because I could feel that mysticism of that end game unachievable has just been broken down. I don't want to see how a magician does his tricks. I want to get in there and do it the hard way. It just dispelled the magic for me, because I like that. I like knowing that I might never be good enough. That's not masochism talking either. That is no. Kind of, you look at it and think there's a long climb ahead of me, and I'm gonna go up that way until I'm good enough.
I remember raiding Black Temple, and I remember I think we were stuck on Blood Boil. For
the first boss of the.
That was the orc down below, and they would do the blood. I think it was Blood Boil. I could be wrong, but we're stuck on them for 2-3 weeks on that one fight. Mm-hmm. So we would, every week on reset, we'd progress through to them, and then that was the time that we were desperately trying to smash it down, and we were trying different tactics, and I think we ended up doing a tactic where I took off all my raiding gear, and I put on stamina gear.
Oh, so you did put something on. That's good.
Yeah. So I just
didn't know where the story was going.
I just took my clothes off and did it naked. No, I took my clothes off. I took my clothes off and I actually put stamina gear on to get my health up as much as possible. And then I would be one of the designated person who gets the dot.
Right.
And then I would drain. I would drain life. And that would be one of my things. So it would be sort of like drain tanking through that period. So there were lots of little tricks that you could try. I mean, I was a warlock tank for the Kael'thas Sunstrider fight. I was a warlock tank for Phase 3 on Illidan. There are these really cool little things that you used to be able to do in raiding. It wasn't just, the tanks which were constantly tanking. They were majority tanking. But there would be times when you'd have to have a range or a magic caster or something else would be niche for a certain segment of a fight. And
you'd get the hunter kiters and things like that.
Yeah. Or the mage slows or whatever it may be, and just things like this added a real cool nuance to the raids. And when you only had the one difficulty, of course, you weren't thinking about, we got to do this, and then we got to go to heroic, and then we got to go to the mythic progression. It was just like, no, if you got stuck on a boss, you tried different tactics and you tried different ways, and it might take a few weeks, but as soon as you get that kill, your Discord or whatever it was at the time, it'd be Ventrilo, I think, at the time, would be going nuts. You'd be going absolutely crazy.
Yeah, now the thing I've been hearing a lot and reading a lot of is people saying that the gaming culture now is basically people don't have the time to spend on the game and grind away, and that everyone has now real jobs and all the
6
rest of it.
jobs, 58 children.
Yeah. And that is just the biggest load of shite I've ever heard in my
Of course
life.
it is.
Because you would still put in the time. People do 9 to 5 and still come home and raid 7 till 11. That's not a problem. All they're doing is alienating their most loyal players. That is the issue I've always seen. And just because other people grew up and moved on, or that is not good rationale for. This is the reasoning behind us changing the style of end game MMO, because that is what people play for, the end game, not
Would you agree that Cataclysm was the problem? That was the expansion that changed everything in terms of how we did things.
Is that when? Well, it was.
That's when Looking for Dungeon came in straight away, and then Looking for Raid came in for Dragon Soul. Dragon Soul was the first Looking for Raid.
Yeah, I thought they actually brought it in at the end of Wrath of the Lich King. They started to bring in an LFG then in the dungeons.
An LFG. I'm not sure about an LFG. They certainly didn't do an LFR.
Right. No, it wasn't LFR. It's just LFG for the dungeons, and then in Kata dropped. Yes, that was
because I think the LFG took away the outside world for a lot of people.
Yes,
there was no incentive to go out. Everyone was just suddenly sat in Stormwind, or until then it could be Ironforge as well, but they killed Ironforge off. In actual fact, they killed capital cities off because they just said, hey, you want accessibility, Alliance, you got to be in Stormwind, Horde, you got to be in Orgrimmar.
That's right.
And so when I was Horde, because I actually started off as a Horde player for 4 years, when I was Horde, I actually spent rather a lot of time in Undercity and Thunderbluff.
Right.
And then, of course, when I switched to Alliance, the big city to chill out in was Ironforge. And then those just got destroyed because they didn't have the Kata portals, and they didn't have the ethereals. And so they just killed off capital cities, just absolutely annihilated capital cities in there as well. It just seems so bizarre that there was such a short sight. Well, I say short-sightedness. That's actually what they wanted. They wanted to pull people into single hubs, and I just don't think they really deserve to have that choice. Let people go to whichever city they want to go in.
Yeah, I think that, again, truncating a large world into one small capital was a mistake. And another mistake, I remember at the time, people moaned about the dungeons being too difficult. Do you remember that?
At the start of Kata, it drove me mad. Those people drove me mad.
Yeah.
Because it was like, all you had to do was think, they were tough. But a lot of the time it was like the I can't remember what the rock creature was called in.
Yeah, it's going to stop you and you got to jump or something like that.
Or you got to stop spellcasting, otherwise it's just going to reflect back on you.
Yeah.
And instead of doing what things do now, if they reflect back on you now in game, do like 1% of the damage and it's nothing. But then it would reflect back in. So if I did like a chaos bolt for argument's sake, and it hit it and reflected back on me, I'd probably kill myself.
Yeah.
Because it was the same. It was using the same tactics as the not the menagerie, the faces from Black Temple. I can't remember. I forget what they're called. But that was one of the phases, and then you had to stop your spellcasting, otherwise it was just going to reflect back to you and kill you.
Yeah.
So these weren't unknown mechanics, but people bitch. I think that's when Total Biscuit quit the game, when they made that decision to nerf dungeons.
Yeah, nerfing dungeons and bringing in LFR. Great decision, Blizzard. Well done.
Yeah. Kill capital cities, kill the outside world, kill raiding, and, of course, in Cataclysm, they killed guilds because they turned guilds into profit machines. And so people were simply leveling up guilds, getting the people inside them to grind to get the money, because of course you got the money which went into the guild bank, then clearing out the guild banks, selling the guilds, and booting all the people. So it started to cause more and more antisocial behaviour because it just started to kill guilds off. They weaponized guilds.
Yeah, that backfired. I think they thought they were doing a community service by making people join guilds so you get the perks, and most people just wanted perks like, the riding speed increase or whatever it was back then.
Yeah, to get the mounts as well, get the cool mounts.
It made sense, but yeah, it just didn't work at all.
Yeah, it just felt like there was an idea which came out, but instead of being thoroughly thought out and discussed, it was just like, oh yeah, just do it. Just whack it in. We're too busy redoing every level 1 quest to worry about end game and the health of the game. We're too busy making a Tirisful Glade level 3 quest.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest issues then is, if you look at it in a larger viewpoint, is that they seem more interested in who they can get coming to see their game than can we keep the actual subscribers. And I think that's where we find ourselves right now. They are losing so many because they continually make the wrong decisions.
But they think they make the right decisions.
Oh yeah, and then they never admit that they're wrong.
No,
that's the other thing.
They just go, why don't people like? This is great. Why don't people? This is what they need. This is what they want. This is what they should be doing.
Exactly, and if you moan about it, you become the enemy. All the white knights will come and tell you that that you.
Oh, I get them.
Become jaded with it. Oh, yeah, I know you do, and I've seen it on your videos, and I've seen it, people argue with you on Twitter. But what they don't realize is that you want to love the game, and you would play it if they they could just reach some kind of. If you think about it, all we're looking for is a compromise, and what we were looking for as gamers is not for everything to be perfect, but for things to be acknowledged. If they make a mistake, come out and say it, and say, "Hey, we realize you guys don't like this."
Ian comes from a law background. He will never ever admit culpability.
Yeah,
ever. Well. Because if you admit fault, you're liable. That's his law background.
Liable for what though? That's what I just don't understand.
Liable to be a fucking human. Liable to actually show some humanity instead of looking like a bloody Croatian serial killer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish. I mean, the thing is though, to kind of do what you say, there has to be a humility within the team, and I don't see a humility within the team. I see incredible ego. Huge ego. You just have to look at particular CMs without naming names. You just have to look at particular CMs to see that ego and arrogance is rampant in that team. And there seems to be almost an agitator type of complex there as well. That they kind of get this weird-ass kick out of agitating their community. This weird-ass kick of being divisive and trying to split people, because the only people who are left on WoW pretty much are people who'll stick with the game no matter what. Now I think they've really got down to their core of core people, and those people aren't calling for change. They just want the game there.
Yeah, but I feel sad for those that are sticking it out, hoping it'll get better. For those that are loving it, I wish I could be them. That's what I want. I want to be those people that could still enjoy the game for what it is. But for those that are sticking it out, thinking that something will improve and they've got nowhere else to go.
I don't think objectively you can enjoy it for what it is. I don't think that's objectively you can do that. I think objectively it's so dull. I would rather play an Elder Scrolls now. I'd rather play a Final Fantasy 14 right now. I just think those two games have much more to offer in terms of just fun. Just that's the F word that I want in WoW. I just want fun in WoW.
Yep, and that is irrespective of time. That's not to do with you've only got 500 hours on Final Fantasy or whatever.
No,
so it's nothing to do with that at all. It's looking at it objectively.
Yeah. And objectively, there used to be a lot of fun in the World of Warcraft, and they would try things, and it might work for some people, it might not work for others. I personally was a big fan of the Argent tournament. I thought the Argent tournament was a really clever idea, and it was something different, and it was quite interesting to do the dailies because you had a little story going on with the Black Knight. And you also had this leveling up to try and get your tokens to get your mounts and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was I just thought the concept around the Argent tournament was a very good concept. It was something different. They tried something. And I'm actually one of the people that enjoyed the raid. I know it's a very unpopular raid for the most part, and I'm in the minority.
No Trial of the Champion. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, but I thought Trial of the Champion was actually really... Because it was just different. And that's what you want raids to be. You don't want every raid to be the same. You want something different. So I enjoyed the fact that there was no trash. I enjoyed the fact that it was literally one boss after the other. It was a tournament. That's what it was. It did what it was set out to do. And, after coming off Old War, which was like heavy, a big raid, a long raid, heavy, trash intensive as well, I thought it's just a nice little breath of fresh air, knowing that we were going to go into another deep raid with Ice Crown Citadel later on. I actually really appreciated the what they did with the Argent Tunnel. I really appreciated the risk that they took with it, and I've just never seen WoW take that risk since.
I think something else that was really enjoyable about that was the tensions were so high between Horde and Alliance back then that they even put that into one of the encounters, where they say if you're Alliance then you fight all the Horde
Felt
champions.
Natural.
Yeah, it felt a little bit PvP-like, and it was such an annoying fight as well.
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But it was really fun, especially when you started taking out the healers.
Yeah.
You started chipping away at those healers, and the tree would go, and the disc. I think it was a disc priest. The disc priest would go, and then you'd be like, "Come on, paladin, get off, paladin off." I thought that was a good concept. Yeah, because they did feel like legitimate tensions between the two factions, and then we went through this period of time where everyone was just not in a state of anything. Because we had the shared, obviously we had Dalaran, which was shared, but there was the story that went alongside it with Garrosh and Thrall and Varian and Jaina, and so there was this big, you knew that if Thrall and Jaina weren't there, things would just kick off. They were literally the two parties that were holding these factions at bay. But then it just kind of got generic. Suddenly in Cataclysm, it's just like, oh, we're all just going to help each other for no reason at all. And then in Mists, it was just like, we're trying to do a Horde versus Alliance thing, but it's not going to happen. Everyone just got chummy at the end again. We're going to do a siege on your major city. Thank you. It's going to be a big raid, and we're only going to fight one boss in the actual Orgrimmar itself. Oh, so there's no sieging going on whatsoever. No, but don't tell people that, please.
I thought that was kind of cool. I quite liked the way that resolved as well. It was that kind of Varian's warning to everyone, if you guys ever do that again, I will kill you. It's got all that to it.
Oh,
but, yeah.
No, what was to come next, and what killed everybody in spirit. It killed everyone's spirit and soul and will to live.
It did. I've got a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Because we haven't talked about this before, but what is your opinion on Classic? Are you going to go back to it?
I mean, when it was announced, very happy indeed. Very happy with the announcement, because I'd actually, when I left WoW in Legion, I actually jumped onto a private server and because I wanted to know if I was just looking at things through rose-tinted specs.
Yeah.
Or whether or not I legitimately thought that was a better method of actual playstyle. And it was just really cool to actually have enemies in the outside world that hurt you. And it was really cool to actually have mana deplete when you cast a spell. And, just this kind of like resource management of your character, I felt a lot more connected to the character. And I ended up having to stop playing on the private server because I was like, I could get into this big time. And then, of course, Blizzard could just hit the server with a cease and desist, and all my time would be wasted. So I kind of like skulked away, kind of unhappy, a bit sad, because I was like, no, I really enjoyed this. And then, so when they announced Classic, I was so excited that I actually came back to the game. I actually came back to the game when I really had no desire or intention to 24 hours ago. In actual fact, I was streaming on the day of BlizzCon, and I was telling people, are you going to watch BlizzCon? No, I don't care, And I was doing all of that, and then suddenly when I heard the Classic announcement, I was just like, oh my God. And so I got really excited. And then this BlizzCon, which has just passed, I think we just saw Blizzard for who they truly are. And they're a horrible company right now. They are a horrible, horrible company right now. And Alan Adam just came across like the bloody devil. As somebody who just really didn't give a shit about the community one bit, whose only interest was China, whose only interest was mobile gaming, how he was like almost threatening in nature by saying, well, our developers are all playing mobile now and we're pulling them from the games. You know, we're pulling the best developers from titles to work on mobile projects. And it just came across as threat after threat after threat. And once that kind of sunk in, I was just like, you know, I don't even know if I want anything to do with this company anymore. And so Classic kind of lost a lot of its appeal because ultimately it's Classic run by Blizzard. I mean, the Classic team seemed like a really good bunch of guys, in all fairness. They seem really passionate about the project and whatnot. And, you know, hopefully if they continue to look after it and I could maybe continue with it. But actual Blizzard as a company, I do not like who Blizzard are as a company right now. It's just so skewed Activision, screw your players for as much money as you can.
Yeah, for me, it's always difficult to know who is pulling the strings, if some of this is coming from Blizzard and Activision. But my own sense of Classic is that I like games that develop and I like to see where they go. I have been here before.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do it again. I'm the same as you. I've got that thing about the rose-tinted glasses. And I had my curiosity piqued and I had to look at the private servers, and same reason. I thought, I'm not doing any more of this just in case, you know, I get invested. But the one thing I
thought it's a much better style of play than is here now.
Oh yeah. Other thing is death matters in vanilla WoW, because if you die somewhere, you have got a long way to go back.
Yeah,
to the
graveyards were very few and far between.
Yeah, and getting corpse camped and things like that, you know, in the open world, those were things, and people would sit on top of your corpse.
Oh, yeah. You tried to get away. You'd look at ways to res and get away, or ways to res and try and get to at least somewhere where you'd have a fighting chance, or you might be able to drag some guards in or stuff like that. There's almost a strategic element to resing if you were killed by a player, of course. Or even, you know, with some NPCs, you're just like, damn it, if I res up here, I'm just going to get ganked. Yeah. So you would look at where was a potential place. And because one of the bad things I think about WoW is they just operate off a radius aggro. So they just have an aggro, 360 aggro radius around the character. Whereas games like Final Fantasy, they have aggro based on line of sight. So you can skulk behind creatures, right next to creatures in Final Fantasy, and not pull them. And then there was also times where you would not aggro if you physically attack something, or you were just walking. But if you cast a spell, there would be mobs which would spell aggro. So, you know, there were little cleverer things like that. I always hoped that WoW would implement something like that, but...
Yeah, I think to add to that, the aggro range got bigger if your level difference was bigger as well, did it not?
Yeah,
I think if you were much lower, they would smell you.
Oh yeah. The higher you got, the lower the aggro range, which made sense. You know, made sense.
That did make sense.
But yeah, you know, death had a consequence, and so things like soul stones became really important for a warlock, and health stones and stuff like that were really, you know, were vital really to survival.
Exactly. And there's no phasing, there's not, you know, into another instance and all that. You know, when you're on a realm with someone, you're on that realm, and that's what I loved about it.
No sharding.
Notoriety. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if people are around, people are around. If people weren't around, great. You know, I might be able to get away with stuff.
Exactly, that's what made the PvP battles more intense, you know, like the whole Taran Mill and the South Shore thing.
Oh, that was so much fun.
So much fun, but again, I just think that all got lost at the end of Wrath of the Lich King into Cataclysm. That was just...
Well, I mean, in all fairness, though, I mean, nothing could compare to just sitting in the garrison for WoD. I think that's the best gameplay feature WoW ever introduced, was never having to go anywhere or do anything.
or see anyone ever again. Yeah, but
It
you can
was
come to my garrison if you like.
crazy.
Come
It
and
was
see what I've
yeah.
done
You
with
could come see my garrison though. You could sit in fucking abject bloody depression with me for 2 years. It was just, it was so beyond logical what they did with garrisons, because the premise was really good. I thought the idea behind it was really good. You know, develop these buildings, they could level up. So it encouraged you to go out and do the achievements that were required to level these buildings up. Every time they leveled up, you probably got a different perk or whatnot. And then they were just like, hey, wouldn't it be good if we just put all the vendors and then put a table where you got everything that you ever needed into the garrison so people never have to leave? It's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, I think that also built upon an existing problem where the game tries to build the player into something amazing, like you are the champion of the horde. It's like, no, I want to be that nothing that needs 20 other nothings to actually take down a something. And the fact that it kept building you up, that you are, you've done this and you've defeated them and that and the other. No, you're a small spoke in a very large wheel, and I didn't like being called that all the time. So yeah, it felt like handing out awards.
I mean, I certainly understand where you're coming from. I think it could have worked. I think being a champion could have worked. But I think I can remember once doing a video. It's probably still up on my channel, and I don't know exactly which one it is. But I actually say during Miss of Pandaria leveling up, when are we going to get a base? When are we going to become a champion, a general? And when are we going to get a base and be able to get troops and do things with troops? So I actually had this like garrison-esque idea in Mists, and obviously mine would have worked differently because you would have actually gone out into the world with your troops and done stuff.
Right. Okay.
But you would have felt a little bit more powerful, of course, because you were when I say controlling them, you were leading them. So you'd get that I am a commander, I am a captain, I am a general sort of vibe. But this whole just dragging faces into a slot, and then they were coming back a couple of hours later with mythics.
Yeah.
No, what are you doing to the game? And I think people's I truly believe, because I put a tweet out a couple of days ago, and I said, or yesterday actually, and I said, I'm going to do a video, Warlords of Draenor versus BFA, which is actually the worst expansion. And I was actually quite amazed at so far the response on the tweet. I think predominantly most people have actually put BFA as the worst expansion. Now, if you were just to compare content, it would be WoD all day, every day, because WoD had no content. Yep. So in terms of content, it would always be WoD. However, BFA has lots of content no one wants to do because it's shit. And I think why people think BFA is, I mean, I'm not trying to speak for anyone, but I think the reason why people think BFA is worse than WoD is because we've had WoD.
Yeah, if we don't want another one, exactly.
And so it's that I think it's the sinking feeling that people have got, and so they've got all those, all the people that managed to stick WoD out, and if they, they went through Legion, and I think for most people they said Legion was pretty decent. They were happy with pretty happy with Legion, but going into BFA, they've suddenly got all those WoD feelings. All of those are coming back, and they do not want.
Yeah, it makes sense. Loyalty is going to expire at some point, isn't it? That's basically what it feels like to me. If everyone's choosing BFA, and that is probably the killing blow. A lot of people probably quit on that, so it's easy to.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised at how many people are just like, no, I'm actually not ever coming back now. I'm done. I'm actually done from WoW. So I mean, I don't know where. I mean, do you have a vision where you think the game's going to go next? Do you think it's just going to go Void Lords?
I have no idea where they. I mean, the thing is, what they should be looking at right now is correcting their wrongs and incorporating that into wherever I think the lore is secondary to the problems they've created. Even though that's a blasphemous thing to say, but it doesn't matter if you've got the best story in the world. You've shat all over your player base.
Yeah. No. It's all about at the end of the day, it's content first. It's always going to be content first because you got to keep people entertained. You got to keep people playing. I mean, I don't think no matter how good 8.2 is, I don't think 8.2 is going to do anything because I think the damage is already done. So even if 8.2 turns out to be fantastic, they might get a little pop, but I don't think they're going to get much. It's really, to me, eyes focus on the next expansion and what ideas they have in terms of whether or not they're just like, screw this. This game's 15 years old. We don't give a toss. We're literally just milking the crap out of people now. Because if you look at everything that's making money on WoW, it's their live services. It's people race changing. It's people faction changing. It's people server hopping. It's people allied races. That's what's making them the money. And so if they're content with the amount of money that this 15-year-old game is making, then they could just be like, screw it, really. We'll just do the typical leveling experience again, and then we'll do Mythic Plus dungeons again, and then we'll do different tier raiding again. Because Ian said, personal loot's here to stay. Nobody wants personal loot.
Nope.
But of course, personal loot keeps the treadmill going, whereas it was so much more satisfying actually getting lots of stuff. And if you needed it, great. If you didn't, oh well. At least I got something rewarding out of it, as opposed to what did I get off this boss? Oh,
what was their reasoning? Did they say, was it to reduce toxicity or something?
Oh no, their reasoning was we are terrible at our jobs and we haven't a clue what we're doing. I think that was the reasoning. Yeah. This is something nobody's asked for, and when we've mentioned it, nobody likes, but we're going to put in anyway because we are atrocious at our jobs. I'm pretty sure that was the reasoning.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think they've got to look at the next expansion, and if they want the game to have any chance of, because I don't think even if the next expansion drops, we're going to get anywhere close to the levels that it's been now. I think way too much damage has been done with WoD and BFA to scare off people. That it's going to be a little pop. So if they want to try and get people back, I think they have to innovate. They have to try something different.
Yeah, they need an overhaul, because I think their trump card was the Alliance versus Horde, like bringing things back, and that was a big, that was a big whoopsie.
I mean, I personally, I didn't get that. I just didn't get it. I mean, to me, WoW's always bloody Horde and Alliance. And they did, I mean, we've had, Mists of Pandaria was meant to be a Horde and Alliance versus Alliance. And this is heading exactly the same sort of territory. Conflict to start with, teaming up at the end. Cataclysm was meant to be Horde versus Alliance. And again, started off that way, ended up with everyone, kissing and giving Deathwing a manicure. And this BFA seems to be the exact same route. There's been no Battle of Azeroth. That's the thing. There's been no battle at all. There's been a little skirmish on Zuldazar.
You get that first one. You get that thing at Undercity right at the start when you're.
Yeah, but that was actually before the bloody expansion released. So that wasn't even in BFA. That was technically in Legion, wasn't it?
It's still Legion.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So I think it was. I could be wrong, but
I thought it was at the beginning, but it is.
It might have been okay. It might have been the first thing that we do. It might have been the first thing that we do in BFA then. But other than that, that was it. But then Sylvanas was just like, I'm going to blight everything so nobody gets to have any fun here. And I had all these great, thoughts that, great, the Alliance are going to take over Lordaeron. This is going to be really good idea. Why? Because now the Eastern Kingdoms are going to be essentially Alliance-centric. And the only bastion which is holding out is Silvermoon. Now, this could lead to very interesting political story between Alliance and Lorthamar Theron. because we know that Lothar Martheron has been in negotiations secretly with Anduin in the past. So, I had all these really great thoughts about the complexity of how the story could play out, how they could really tease and toy with people as opposed to the Blood Elves, maybe switching sides, really, go for something different here. Meanwhile, the Alliance are building up Lordaeron back to its glory days. Undercity's been filled in, whatever the blasted it away, so it's just ruins down, but it's just filled in down below. Brill gets converted into Alliance town, and it's I had all these wonderful ideas. Oh, the Sepulchre's going to change to no, just going to blight the area and no one gets anything. Oh, so you just took the easy way out then. Instead of having interesting... Stratholme could have become a rebuilt city.
Ooh,
it could have been a great chance for some good content. Some murder mystery, some, maybe some spies from Silvermoon have infiltrated Stratholme, and you could have had these lovely little political dramas going on, without even, not too political that people couldn't understand. I'm not talking like Game of Thrones levels of complexity, but just little nuances.
Yeah, you mentioned Silvermoon. That is an underutilized city as well. It's such beautiful architecture. And
I think it's meant to become a warfront.
Oh,
I think it's meant Silvermoon's going to become a warfront.
Oh well,
because warfronts are great. Best content WoW's ever made, and by best I mean the fucking worst by a country mile. Utter garbage. The worst thing they have ever done in WoW, and that is saying something right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was all those little ideas, and of course with the same with Talador out the way, it could have given Darkshore a completely new aesthetic because the Horde move in, or the Trolls move in, because there is troll presence in Darkshore. So the Trolls actually decide, they're given to what's he called? The new troll leader, D-Man, begins with D, whatever. They give it to him. Say, congratulations for, getting rid of the Blood Elves, the Night Elves. Darkshore's yours. And so you get this, huge troll influence coming into Darkshore. And then, of course, the whole of Kalimdor would be Horde. There wouldn't actually be any Alliance bastions left because the Exodar, of course, is away.
Holy shit. Blizzard, are you listening to this? Are you listening to some actual substance, to some ideas you can do with your game?
Dude, I'm just a toxic WoW hater. Can we just get that right, please? Just a toxic WoW hater.
The haters never listen long enough to hear the solutions. So.
Not exactly. So when I was hearing, talk of Battle for Azeroth, these were the ideas that were going in my head. Because I actually very nearly released a video about what my next expansion would be from Legion going into the next expansion. And I actually had some quite similar ideas to Battle for Azeroth in as much as it would become sort of... Right. My idea was... This was what my expansion idea was going to be. Okay? Mm-hmm. My idea was actually going to be Ysiraj... Not Ysiraj. What's he called? The Enzoth. Although it's not pronounced that way, but that's the only... I'm thick, so that's the only way I know how to pronounce it. Enzoth, because he has connections to the Emerald Nightmare... And we saw at the end of... We saw when we did the raid in Legion that there was that one void crystal, that one void thing left over in the Emerald Dream. Mm-hmm. That's Enzoth. That's Enzoth's corruption still, right? So my idea was WoW shuts down for 24 hours. Okay?
Okay.
WoW shuts down for 24 hours at the end of Legion. And when it goes back up again... Now, by the way, in case you're thinking that's crazy talk, Final Fantasy shuts down for 24 hours before the new expansion. Just saying.
Oh, does it? All
yeah,
right.
Yeah, has done, yeah. Nobody does testing. The testing's all done in-house with QA. They actually spend some fucking money and get some QA testers in to test it in-house.
Right.
Right? You log on to the new expansion. The Alliance wake up in Lordaeron. And the Horde wake up in a different Orgrimmar. An Orgrimmar that isn't battle ready. An Orgrimmar that is a mixture of Troll and Orc architecture. Kind of akin to how old Orgrimmar was, but more dense and populated. The Alliance are at war with the Scarlet Crusade. That is their enemy. And so you have these, and Varian Rin is there. Now that's very telling, because obviously Varian Rin was killed in Legion.
Yep.
But everyone is happy that Varian's there, and you don't remember that he was killed, and he is leading the Alliance. Okay. And so it's like nothing to do with the Horde. You're aware that there is a Horde over in Kalimdor, but they're doing what they're doing. You don't bother them, they don't bother you. Okay?
All right.
So Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms have been completely changed to how they were. Kind of like Cataclysm-esque. And the main presence for the Alliance is, like I said, the Scarlet Crusade. And on the Horde side, their main enemy is actually the Centaurs. Okay. As it fucking should be. Is the Centaurs. So the Horde have got big problems with the Centaurs. And the Alliance have big problems with Scarlet Crusade. The Barrens ain't the Barrens. The Barrens is actually a lush jungle how it used to be. That's how you change up the Barrens. And Thousand Needles is flooded. And it's not... it's not flooded, as it used to be. Okay. And, the Quill Boar, they're not there. They've been converted into Centaur, bases of operation, etc., etc. So, the first patch starts off with everybody just getting on. You got all the new zones, because all the zones are now different. So you got all your new zones. There's no leveling. You actually are a power cap. So you're actually building up power as opposed to building up levels. So you're literally just getting stronger and stronger through your power. That affects your spell damage, it affects your physical damage, it affects your armor rating, blah, 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 blah. And you have the storyline where you're just fighting the Scarlet Crusade and you're fighting the Centaurs. And then, when it comes towards the end of patch 1, you suddenly start to notice some cracks in the world. Some void cracks in the world. And you don't understand what's going on. And you hear voices. There's voices that are constantly coming out of these cracks. And they're just not making any sense. And the same is happening over on the Horde side. There's cracks there. They win victories against the Centaurs. They discover these cracks. These void cracks. And there are whispers. There are voices. And they can't make out what they're trying to say. Mm-hmm. When it moves into the next patch, the zones have changed slightly. There are more cracks, there is more disruption, and the Scarlet Crusade, the remaining bunch, are a little perverted now. They're like the same, but they've suddenly got like void damage, void damage to them. And they're starting to not make any sense when they're talking. They're saying some words you understand, they're saying other words you don't. Same with the Centaur. And the voices that are coming through the cracks are suddenly starting to become a little bit more pronounced. Right. And then, when you're moving into the next patch, you actually get somebody, Jaina for the Alliance, and maybe Thrall for the Horde, who actually come through the crack. And they're telling you, you need to wake up. You need to wake up because you're asleep. Everybody in the world is asleep. Enzoth has put the world to sleep through the Emerald Nightmare. So
I like it.
So the story would build up to you kind of like fighting your way through to some sort of epiphany. And then when you smash through the epiphany in the raid, that would probably be a raid. And then the final boss would allow you to penetrate and you would smash back into reality. And when you smash back into reality, and the main boss for the Alliance would probably be Varian Rin, because Varian Rin ain't Varian Rin, obviously. And for the Horde, it would be, maybe Grom, Gromish. Actually get that fight against Grom Hellscream for, what it should be. or Doomhammer or something like that. You know, give them a proper send off, not the kind of shitey one we got in WoD. Give those characters a proper showing. And then when you smash back into the real world is like screwed. You know, you have all this void damage, and you got all these void tech creatures come through because of Enzoth. And then you would fight, and your end boss would be Enzoth. So that's story wise that's where I was wanting to kind of go with the next expansion. So there's sort of elements of BFA which are very similar to that, but I would have actually completely separated the Horde and the Alliance. So instead of having this battle against each other like we always have, my theory was at the end, we would once and for all bond with the opposing faction. It wouldn't affect Battlegrounds because you could always have Battlegrounds, but you would literally have Anduin saying, Kalimdor's yours. We will pull out every troop, every settlement. It's yours. Eastern Kingdoms will become our territory, and we wish you the best. And you'd always have the little skirmishes that you'd have because not everyone is, pro peace, but you would actually get that resolution and stop this constant fanning about of we're friends, we're not, we're friends, we're not, we're friends, we're not. Get a treaty signed, get a bit of story where this treaty's signed, have freaking orcs walking around Stormwind, get both factions together for this at least for this part until until it kind of like separates or whatever. But yeah, just try something, really kind of like try something different, do something brave, do something bold with storytelling. Stop retreading old ground with what we've seen before.
Yeah, I agree that the ideas that you put forth would actually make people play both factions. As simple as that. Everyone who's Horde would.
Well, it would be a different experience.
Yep.
There would be completely different experiences, completely different stories. You'd have completely different zones. It'd make so much more sense to actually have an alt on the other faction now. So you could get the full story. You get part of your story, or you get the full story. Yeah. But, I just had these ideas.
They played with that a little bit in Legion where you would see, both sides of the assault. Was that near the start? Where you
yes. Horde went one direction, Alliance go another direction. Yeah,
I quite like that idea. Whereas this is like taking it to a whole new level.
But that then from the expansion after that, that's when I would have brought Ashara in, and I would have had Ashara as the main villain.
Right.
And it would have been just because she deserves to have her own expansion. She don't deserve to be an 8.2 boss. She deserves her old expansion, And it just would have been a great opportunity for them to tweak the world, to get Stratholme back, to get these areas tweaked and changed, maybe to do the thing, maybe to get rid of that Silvermoon, to get rid of maybe that Silvermoon portal and try and, extend on it, or whatever they can do that's going to be Alliance territory or whatnot. Give them their own continents. And kind of like separate them a bit. Give them that breath. Give them that gap. Keep them apart. Don't get them so claustrophobic.
Yeah, exactly. Really good, man. I'm impressed.
No, it's just people watching that go, "What are you talking about, you crazy bastard?" But I just don't think the game. I think the game just it doesn't even play it safe. I don't think. I just think it plays it mundane. I think there's a difference. Because I haven't felt any war between the Horde and the Alliance in this expansion. It's just felt meaningless. I haven't felt any conflict when it comes to war fronts. They are just so boring. It doesn't feel like there's any conflict. It just feels like, are you going to kill yourself?
It's an AFK front. That's what war fronts are. Yeah.
And you can you could understand. I've been in war fronts where people are like kick so they're AFK, and like people have just been like, "Why? This is shit." And I've been like, "Yeah, I can't kick somebody for being AFK in a war front. I can't. I totally understand. I want to be that AFK. I've been that person that's dicked around and done cack all. The first war front I did, I think, at BFA, because I knew what they were like, and they were terrible. I purposely didn't do any damage. I just didn't do anything. I just ran around picking up wood and picking up iron, because that's fun, apparently. But I made sure that I didn't cast a single spell, didn't fire off anything. And then I got Titan Forged 395 legs or something, which is actually higher than the mythic item level that you got from the raid, which I think at the time was 390.
That's a yikes from me.
That's the World of Warcraft, Captain RNG.
Shitty power.
So, moving forward, do you have any hope for WoW? Do you think they can do? Do you think they can change?
I think they can, but I think it's too late. I don't think I'm ever going back. I don't think I could ever trust them again. The BFA was the last straw for me, I think, and yeah, it would take a lot of convincing. So no, I don't think they can pull this back at this stage. I mean, how do you pull back a player base that was shrinking year after year anyway? Introduce lots of new gamers.
Number one, by showing some humility. Number one, showing that you know that you actually care. Number two, showing that you're open to actually listening instead of to the echo chamber. You're open to listening to dissenting voices, because apparently the only voices that are allowed to be heard are voices where, oh, you're so great, everything's so great, everything's amazing. And you've got to show willingness to, because I don't see any passion in this dev team. I see no passion at all. Ian, I don't think Ian Hazakostas would know what fun is if it was sucking his dick.
And there goes your monetization.
Oh, well, it was nice while it lasted.
Again.
But it's just, I just don't see any care and attention or love or passion or desire in these people. I don't. I see agitators. I see bored people making bored content because they're boring. I want to see people with ideas. I want to see people with, who've got some love, some passion, some care, who actually, really want to make WoW a great game. Because it's like, we talk about WoW being 15 years old or whatnot, but the fact that it's still up there or thereabouts, I'm not even sure if it is the top subscribed game right now as an MMO. I'm not actually convinced.
I'd be surprised. It's actually doing a lot better on Twitch than I thought it would be.
Well, that's Method. That is Method and Asmongold.
Oh, I see.
That's right. Method and Asmongold. If you take Method and Asmongold out that equation, you got nobody watching. You probably got a few people holding it up like Towley and whatnot.
I didn't think Asmongold was even playing it anymore. I thought
he was playing it proper, and then he took a bit of a break, and then he would play it part time, and I think he's dabbling maybe. But if you go to the Twitch and you just look, it's Method, and of course it makes sense for them because they're invested in the product with their esports, because WoW's an esport. Because an MMORPG needs to be an esport.
Yeah, if I was them, I'd be taking a look at their community managers and getting them to look at how many World of Warcraft creators have left. I don't think Nixium plays, does he? If he does,
I saw a video pop in my recommended a couple of days ago where I think he went back for the free weekend.
Right.
But I didn't see it.
I think I watched that video, and I think I remember him saying it was terrible.
Oh.
So,
whoopsies.
Yeah, but the same's happening in Overwatch. A lot of the content creators and streamers have quit and left, and that is a huge alarm bell.
Well, we're going to record another video, and it's going to be on your channel, and we're going to discuss Overwatch. Which I've had a little bit of dealings with.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so yeah, I will contribute a little, but it'll probably predominantly you having a right whinge, which would be great. So yeah, so you think unless there is genuine desire to change, unless there's a genuine desire to change, I don't see there being a change.
I don't think they are capable of the change which you say they need. That's where I see it. I just don't believe that they have it in them to turn around and be humble, because I've never seen them do it. I've never
No.
seen them turn around and say, we have made these mistakes. They will use other words like, this isn't always working as intended.
Yeah,
nope,
yeah.
Nope, that doesn't count.
No,
Sorry.
yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's not quite worked out how we wanted, or things could have been different. And there's all this fanning about. Just say it was shit. Just say it's shit, and we're sorry. But we've never. I don't think we've ever heard the two words. I'm sorry. I don't think we've ever heard that about anything.
Even Epic Games have done that. Epic Games released something that didn't work and said, "Hey guys, we messed up. This was a huge mistake. We're really sorry about that. We can do better."
Square Enix shut down the whole of Final Fantasy XIV and rebuilt it from scratch because it wasn't good enough. What does that tell you?
There's a lot they can learn from.
There's companies out there who genuinely want a great product for their player base. I think World of Warcraft was a great product. I don't think World of Warcraft has been a great product for a number of years. And I think in this expansion, World of Warcraft is actually an abysmal product.
That's fair.
But,
it's harsh, but it's fair.
Yeah, I think it's harsh but fair. Yeah, but that's what I'm about. I'm about fairness, and if fairness comes in a stroke, fair enough. If fairness comes in a slap, so be it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it's got to be. So I think we should wrap things up now, and we'll in private discuss when the Overwatch thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
But big thank you for joining us, Ragtagg.
Thank you for having me.
No problem indeed. And I hope you enjoyed the vid, folks. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.